Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Ways and Means Committee meeting for June 4th, 2022.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, did you ask me to call the roll?
I did. I'm sorry. It was something going on. I think I froze.
Okay. Alderman Vaccaro,
Present.
Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Spencer, Alderwoman Boyd,
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg,
Present.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Present.
Alderwoman Evans, Chairwoman Davis.
Present.
5 present, you have quorum.
Thank you.
It's here also, sorry.
Thank you. 6 present, you have quorum.
Thank you. So today we will not approve any minutes. We're going to move forward. This is a public hearing to hear concerns for Board Bill number 1. It is the annual budget for the 2022-23 calendar year. This budget has been reviewed and presented to the Board of Aldermen from the Board of E&A. So I appreciate, first of all, I'd like to say to Paul Payne, who has been with us throughout this process as the budget director. He knows this budget better than anybody else. He works with it all year. He works with the department heads on creating, excuse me, on creating the budget that they present. So what I'd like to do first is, Mr. Payne, do you have anything you'd like to share with us this morning?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. No, there is nothing new that we have to share this morning.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Next, what I'd like to do is to give the instructions for the public hearing. As you know, a rule was passed, I want to say 3 years ago now, that we are asked to swear you in before you make comments to the committee. Also, we have designated 3 minutes as the threshold of time. The chair can always allow someone to finish a statement, most especially if it is the core of their statement. And I will ask you to be responsible in that part of your presentation. As most of you all know, I really do ask for, without any hesitation, of saying that unless we have total respect for each other, we will not continue the hearing. If you choose to use unnecessary derogatory language, we will turn your mic off. This is a process that we all should be respectful of each other, and most especially so that those who are waiting can have their chance to speak as well. I do know that the list is not that long this morning. I think we have a total of 17 people signed up to speak. We did receive 3 statements by email. Committee members, they're in your Google Drive for you to read. They will be a part of the record for this meeting. So what I'd like to do is, Madam Clerk, first of all, thank you. You have really held your own with us. You have supported us 100% in being present and being able to help us get through this. So I'll ask for your guidance again this morning, as we normally do with these hearings. for the timekeeping and calling those who are going to speak.
Will do, thanks.
Okay. And committee members, I shall say this again. We are not here to chastise anybody. We're not here for debate. We're not here to criticize. We are here to listen so that we can have information that we can work with in the final deliberations of this budget. So, Madam Clerk, we are ready to call our first speaker.
The first speaker is Shaquita Hill.
Oh, I forgot to swear in everybody. And so I'm a little different too. I don't swear you in one by one. I swear you in as a group. So I'm about to give you that oath, and I'll ask everybody to open their mics. Okay. So do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give is the truth and the whole truth? And you can give an affirmative that you feel comfortable with saying.
Yes.
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 I do.
Yes.
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 Yeah, I heard. Oh, there you go. Okay. So I saw 11 people because it gives me the indication when you speak. Maybe the others are not online yet. Please proceed, Madam Clerk.
The first speaker is Shaquita Hill.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure because I'm showing up as a participant on one end, and I don't know what I pressed on my phone. But good morning, board and committee members, madam and sirs. I was just wanted to testify against Board Bill 1. And my reasons would be mainly like I've spoken in the last few meetings. Mental health awareness is very much needed. And we're seeing a lot going on in the country, as well as the state of Missouri. I've been watching the news a lot, and it's a lot of disturbing stuff that came up over the weekend. So I was looking forward to this meeting today to see what's actually going to take place, because all I was asking for in my behalf and others like me, single mothers and stuff like that, would be rehabilitation in different forms, not being in prison. Rehabilitation to me would be like, I'm doing a lot of physical therapy for myself. You would not be able to tell that I was a disabled person raising 6 children, one just graduated. But mentally, every day I struggle just because I can't afford a lot of things, you know, to even take care of my kids. The rent is extremely high here. I was just looking at, it's just going on all over the country. Like, how can you afford to pay this amount of rent? You know, so that's another form of rehabilitation. With me, I was in a domestic shelter and they had, what would you call it? Transitional housing. And it was a really good program that fit for me and my 6. Since then, I've had 3 children that graduated from Gateway STEM High School. They've been on it's just been a lot of stuff that my kids need to be not just put into boxes, but with them having a mother that has struggled with her own, not insecurities, but childhood trauma, the things that I see, the sirens that I hear not ongoing, even with school. We have a lot of people that are over here that are immigrants that I've seen, just like with babies that need food. You know, I try to give people, I'll give a person my last, and I'm just saying, like, I wish people will open up their heart and see it's just not a condition with us here in St. Louis. It's going all over the world. And we have people here that the city is helping. And we have residents like myself that has been here all my life. And there's certain things I cannot get. And I don't think that's right. So I'm going to keep standing up for mental health and housing, affordable housing. Thank you. And I
Ms.
thank you
Hill,
guys for letting me speak.
Ms. Hill, if you don't mind, I wanted to just say thank you for, first of all, having compassion for others, because you weren't just speaking for yourself, you were speaking for others. And I wanted to take the opportunity, if you would allow me to, is to connect you with a lot of the services that you talked about, but also give you a bit of assurance that in this budget, there are at least 3 different departments that have funds allocated for those type of services. And you're the type of person that we would love to have as a on a neighborhood council or something, because you would spread the word to others. Some people get information and don't share it. So if you don't mind, first of all, I'm going to ask you to reach out to your alderperson. But if that is not sufficient and it doesn't work for you, feel free to reach out to the Department of Human Services. And I saw Alderwoman Rice is online and a couple of others. And I know that they will be helpful in putting the contact information in the chat for you to get, because I really want to see you have that inroads to information.
Yes, and it's not like you said, ma'am. It's not just me. I'm worrying about others, because just like getting on the Metro Link, I have 2 daughters that go out here and work every day. My daughter, yesterday was some stuff going on downtown. All these bomb threats and a lot of stuff. People have underlying conditions people know nothing of, and I just know my kids get it from me, seeing me go through things, So with that being said, I know I have a therapist, but when I went to see my new psych last month, he said, well, when you come back, you will have another new one. See, that's how the overturn is doing. So I don't want to keep explaining myself to different doctors every 3 months. I'm not, that don't make you comfortable, but then again, being in situations and being in domestic shelters with my kids and getting through it with the grace of God and my lawyers and other community people, big brothers, big sisters, those have been my therapy in different forms of doctors and specialists. And I just give them praise every day, because people don't look at those type of people that are nonprofit and understand how much good deeds they do for the community. I'm doing something tonight with Big Brothers, raising money for kids so that these kids will have a good summer. I have a 10-year-old son. So, and I have a 27-year-old son. Being Black young men, I done had to retrain my sons how to, even with the situation with, boys and girls, like my son won't even go outside. Gunshots, I try to make his yard comfortable. People come in the yard and take things. I look at them being in the situation of my girl's dad and how he used to do me, like these people are asking for help. They need rehab, but in different forms. Jail is not always a good form of rehab, especially when people have mental illnesses that the police or even, the state reps or anyone don't know anything about, because they don't have enough money to go out here. People are scared, especially Blacks, to go out here. And I try to encourage my son and my kids. But when you are seeing what's going on where you grew up, like I said, I'm like, man, this just don't make no sense. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to keep my kids off the Black market in every form and fashion, to where they do the right thing. And I don't want them to be put in boxes, but I also want them and their friends of other ethnicities to be able to get whatever type of help they need. We supposed to be together, unity. It's just too much. And I don't think God, he wouldn't have put us in a place, in a position for us not to do the right thing, So, and that's how I raised my kids. And people tell me all the time, you're doing a great job. And I'm just like, well, I'm scared every day for them and their safety because of what's going on, the unseen things. And I've done my best to keep them out the systems and to make sure and ensure they don't have, they had better opportunities than me and their fathers, 3 baby dads, no child support, if you put them in the system and stuff like that, that's hurting me. And then you got other agencies like HUD, they take when you get a little something. So I never get ahead. So what I've learned over my life is to put what I've learned. And if I could just reach one person and I see that it's sinking into my kids, I just don't want them to be afraid of where they live. You know what I'm saying? My kids like peaceful kids.
Ms. Hill, I'm sorry, but I got to cut you off.
It's fine. I
don't
appreciate you for listening.
No, I
listening
needed the committee members to hear this. I needed the members of the executive branch who are listening to hear you. Because at the end of the day, when we just deal with numbers and we really don't feel what people are experiencing, it's very difficult to be successful. And so I hope my committee members will accept the fact that I took that much time, but it was solely needed. It was definitely needed. There's no doubt about it. So I appreciate you. I wish you the best with your children. I'm asking anyone from the executive branch who can give her contact information for Department of Human Services in the chat. I do believe that we have a lot of things there that can help support you and your family. And also, what's the name of those people over there? They'll have the whole list because I can't think of this one agency I'm thinking about, but they'll have the whole list. And I appreciate you. And now, Madam Clerk, we're going to move on to the next speaker. And thank you again, Ms. Hill.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you all. You all have a blessed day.
All right.
The next speaker is Carissa Hernandez.
Hello, thank you. Apologies for being outside. I'm actually at the Central Committee meeting right now. So my name is Carissa Gilman Hernandez. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'll just jump right in it. So hello, Ways and Means Committee. Normally, I would thank you all for creating some space for public input, but considering everything, it seems like public oversight is really needed. I had planned to testify about the wasteful nature of the St. Louis Metro Police Department, as I witnessed it a week ago when 7 police and 5 cop cars showed up to remove 1 person from a bathroom. 1 compliant person, I should also add. And when I made that plan to testify, I knew that no matter what I said, you all would yet again throw our money down the drain that is St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. I assumed it was due to apathy and how it's always been isms, because consistently people come to these meetings with hard facts about how the police department is overfunded, untrustworthy, and wasteful with spending. And yet consistently, their budget keeps growing. Even last year, when you all had the foresight to defund them by $4 million, they somehow still got $5 million more back into their budget. It is infuriating to see people take time to testify against legislation in general and this budget in particular, only to see that legislation pass and our concerns dismissed. Honestly, it's reminiscent of how the Jefferson City Republicans run their show. Clearly, my trust in this body is gone following the news that 2 now former alders and Lewis Reed, who still holds the title, Lewis Reed, who still holds the title of president, were taking bribes and stealing our money. The first of many steps To regain that trust is passing a budget that is reflective of public feedback. I will see silence and inaction as complicit of the Ways and Means Committee and the Board of Aldermen in general. And I do not think I am the only one. Go and do whatever y'all are going to do because you were going to do it anyway. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
The next speaker is M.L. Smith.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is M.L. Smith. Although I do not live within the city of St. Louis, my work and community advocacy efforts encompass the city. And so I'll talk about one of those areas of advocacy that impacts, this meeting today. One of those areas is my participation in the volunteer court watching program, where we observe the bond hearings in Division 16B of the 22nd Division Circuit Court in the city of St. Louis. As a court watcher, I have had firsthand accounts of the inequities, injustices, biases, and apathy of the criminal legal system in this city. I have witnessed things from outright indifference to defendants to the lack of resources that would actually help people get out of harmful conditions. For example, I'll talk about mental health care. I have actually heard the prosecutor on more than one occasion, I will say, he said that the defendants don't need to be in jail, but they need mental health care, and that is not something that is found adequately in a community. So the best thing will be to keep them in jail. He understands that there is little provided, and recently in court, it has been stated that Places for People in Mission St. Louis, which are two local agencies that help unhoused and people with mental illnesses, those places are at capacity. Hearing that the CJC jail is the quote unquote best place for a person who desperately needs mental health care is one of the most disheartening experiences I've had as a court watcher, especially knowing that this city has the money to provide these resources that can help our community members. But instead of investing in mental health care, community outlets for youth, adequate and affordable housing, well-funded public education, and mental services, for decades and generations, the leaders of this city have chosen to take the more punitive route of arresting, surveilling, and jailing the most vulnerable of our communities. In a never-ending cycle, the very definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So in closing, I would just implore our city current administration, including this Ways and Means Committee, to decide to end this cycle of insanity by ceasing to give the police more money and start investing in our communities with housing, healthcare, mental health care, education, and other supportive services. The millions that can be saved from cutting vacant police positions, ending or not initiating surveillance systems, and as well cutting overtime can save millions of dollars and can definitely be used to, can be dedicated to the Affordable Housing Fund programs for the unhoused and creating more mental health care facilities and programs. So that's all I want to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith.
The next speaker is Chris Schmidt.
So I have been concerned about the unhoused population for years, especially during extreme heat or cold. While there's a wide variety of reasons for homelessness, those with mental illness or addictions are most likely to be arrested. I know this because I too am a court monitor. I see defendants shortly after their arrest for their first bond review. Those with mental illness are often held because they've gone days without their medicine and are judged to be too dangerous if they're off their meds. Like ML said, it's insanity. Providing funding for those with mental illness will benefit everyone in our community, whether they are unhoused, incarcerated, or just our neighbors. The waiting list for these services is long and it affects St. Louis daily. I beg of you to give more funding to programs serving the mentally ill. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Zachary Kyle.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay, I'm gonna try and keep it short and sweet. A few weeks ago, I testified at the ENA committee along with really a lot of people, and that was echoed by the folks there running the committee. Probably 20 plus or more folks testified against the police budget for a variety of reasons. From own personal violence with the police, from just a true public knowledge of how the police is not a true system of safety, but rather that of racist violence. And so, you would expect something like that with a democracy to sort of impact the budget. But we had 3 folks leading that meeting who decided not to take a penny out of that budget. So, we know from data, from research, that there is no relationship between city police budgets and crime rates. There's no relationship between police budgets and feelings of community safety. And in fact, obviously, if that was the case, we'd have a much different city we'd be living in. So I would encourage, I'm not going to echo everything said in that ENA meeting. I would encourage y'all to go back and listen to that, because there is just a barrage of reasoning and rationale and personal stories about the police budget that, again, was not changed by the 3 people at the top. And I would encourage folks to really think about not perpetuating this group dictatorship, whether it's the ENA committee, whether it's the board of alder people, and instead to really reflect and represent the people you serve. That is a true democracy. One way we could start doing that is, prevent ourselves from copying federal indictment charges. That would be a good start. But apart from that, I would encourage y'all to really, really listen to your people and represent your people, and take money away from the St. Louis Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I forgot to say, if anyone speaking has their presentation in writing, feel free to forward it to the Board of Alderman clerk, and it will go into the record. This meeting will still be archived, but if you wanted to send something in writing, please do so. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
The next speaker is Tess Sanders.
Good morning. My name is Tess Sanders. I'm the co-owner of a condo in Ward 5. It's what some marketers refer to as the Creative Block District. It's also home to many residents whose access to basic human rights are denied to them day after day after day after day. A safe place to rest, adequate food, access to some modicum of peace, and they live in a state of escalated stress and certainly violence. And yet I'm not here to advocate for affordable housing, although I agree it was cool that $4 million that would have just been unused and used for police overtime, or for those vacant positions rather, last year. It was good that that was moved over to affordable housing. I'm just here to explain what my priorities are for my property owner tax, and as a human. And so really, I've been thinking and learning about, nonviolent communication, right? And that, like, words are fingers pointing at something. And so we might be pointing at the same thing. We might be like community safety, healing, justice, and we have such different ideas about it. And to me, that 18.1 approximately $1 million that's, I think ML Smith already mentioned, the vacant officer positions, things like SWAT, things like ShotSpotter. When I talk about defunding the police, what I mean is a place where we can have healing, people can have healing amongst themselves, for themselves, real relationships that are based on trust, and to continue to fund and increasingly fund private surveillance, which is how I mean, everything I've learned about the Real-Time Crime Center, that's what that is, right? It's tax dollars protecting a few people and their property rights and their budget interests, to instead be very, very, to invest in training, to invest in spaces where healing can happen, to invest in restorative justice, even knowing that there's bound to be so much mess and conflict along the way. Thanks. And we don't have to look very far in St. Louis to find already a place that's working with restorative justice, right? Freedom Community Center is already doing that. And yet, compared to the $18.1 million that are going into SLMPD spending in 2023 towards overtime, militarization, surveillance, we could move a lot of that to human services and fund things like the Freedom Community Center, where people could have a chance to be trained in what it means to not just survive, but to flourish, right? To do something else besides this, which is exhausting and demoralizing and divisive, and to figure out what it is we all want. If we want public safety, like, let's re-envision and transform what that can look like. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Ronnie Amin.
Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good morning, sir.
Hold up first. I want to get my. All right, first, well, my name is Ronnie, and I reside within the 20 ward of St. Louis City. My testimony today is in relationship to concerns that I have regarding Board Bill 1. First, I want to say thank you to the public officials that sincerely work in service to the interests and for the betterment of our community. I want to thank those who have not forgotten that as representatives, their roles are to hear and speak on behalf of the people. Today, I intend to utilize my testimony to bring clarity to a couple of concerns. On a number of different occasions during discussions about public policy and the needs for community in terms of safety, I heard a number of aldermen and other officials preface their positions, their comments and statements by saying, "I'm not one of these defund people." I interpret these statements as a means to undermine, diminish, delegitimize, and disrespect the voices of community members that have legitimate concerns on how resources are allocated and distributed and the needs of sensible reforms in budget drafting. It seems as though there's an attempt to intentionally mischaracterize the position of those who believe that a third of the city's budget should not be spent on police, or that more than 1% of a budget should be spent in sectors of health and human services. It is important that if you use the term or position defund when attempting to place support behind an initiative or undermine another, that you understand what it really means. Defund means that if we invest in the community and its people in meaningful ways, and if we make sincere attempts at addressing the conditions that contribute or create the cycles of harm, violence, and crime, or that we demonstrate love, commitment to, and the value of its people in drafting these budgets, then we will have less reliance on police, jails, and prison. Defunding means understanding that a constant militarization of the police in the form of expanding and maintaining SWAT teams has no basis in reality, because through the years of 2012 and 2018, SWAT had been employed on an average of 255 times every year, with a total of 7,700 185 deployments. During that time, it was deployed 3% of the time for high-risk situation, but the other 95% of deployments was for the execution of search warrants. I asked how that makes us safe, how that makes the community safe. I think Tess Sanders said it so beautifully when she said that we would better be suited in investing in conditions that promote healing and restoration. And another thing I wanted to bring clarity to was a situation where a statement that Joe Vaccaro had mentioned. And it seemed to be, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead and
Thank
complete.
you for your time.
Sir, go ahead and complete your statement.
Okay. Joe Vaccaro was, I believe, less than accurate when he seemed to imply that he was physically threatened by a protester during a recent demonstration. It seems as though that there are concerted efforts to demonize concerned citizens by mischaracterizing and misinterpreting passion and recasting as violence. Joe said that the individual told him to be armed. Ma'am, I was there. I seen it, and that didn't happen. I would testify that the individual has stated that the people are organized and that Joe needed to be ready, and he hoped that he is organized this election cycle. And for those who don't speak for the people, I hope you are organized, and I hope that you are ready this election cycle because the people's voices will be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The next speaker is Hattie Savodistel.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hattie Savodistel. I am a resident of the 8th Ward, and I work with the Freedom Community Center. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you about my concerns surrounding our city's budget. I'm testifying against Board Bill 1 today in favor of redistributing the overwhelming percentage our city plans to spend on police and policing. I've been an organizer and advocate working with people facing charges pre-trial for the past 5 years. And in that time, I've seen the city fail its citizens over and over again in the name of public safety. Visiting people in cages who haven't had access to showers in weeks, who have festering wounds, who have been denied access to their medication, who have lost their job, their home, their ability to see or care for their loved ones, all while legally presumed innocent, has shown me an evil very few middle-class white people in the city see, as the population of our city's jails is over 80% Black in comparison to our city only being 45% Black, and that is by design. Seeing the inside of court proceedings that take less than 10 minutes to determine someone's future while they themselves aren't allowed to speak on their experiences or the nuances of their life, or when a victim of a case pleads for their loved one's release because they are the primary caretaker of their children, or because they simply need treatment and not jail, only to have the prosecuting attorney ignore their cries and recommend no bond allowed, has shown me what a misuse of our resources this criminal punishment system is. In the name of public safety, our city disappears huge swaths of community, leaving those who depend on them completely destabilized and in turn less safe. For the people who the city disappears into cages, their safety is also not of concern. Aside from the dismal conditions inside these jails, study after study has shown that incarceration leaves people traumatized, more likely to have mental breaks, and less likely to find the resources they need to survive, which furthers the cycle of violence and does not correct it. And I've seen this firsthand. For every penny spent on health and human services, our city spends $1 on policing, and that to me is the antithesis of public safety. I personally, and I know many others, want to live in a city. Thank you. I personally, and I know many others, want to live in a city that cares for its citizens by providing for us, by investing in our needs, by making sure that no one goes hungry, or is without housing, or is without healthcare, or is without transportation. My ask is that you just please use this money wisely. I really believe this city can look different. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Tracy Stanton.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving us space to be a part of our community. My name is Tracy Stanton, and I live in the 10th Ward. I'm also an organizer with the Freedom Community Center. which is an organization that was established to intervene when violence happens within the community, so on the interpersonal level, and also violence that happens to the community, which is systemic violence. And that refers to the institutional practices and procedures that adversely and directly affect Black and Brown community members psychologically, mentally, culturally, economically, spiritually, and physically. I'm here to speak about the outrageous amount of funds that are appropriated to the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, whom we all know is responsible for more killings per capita than any of the other 100 largest police structures in the US. I have plenty of stories that I can share with you from community members who have been harmed, traumatized, and violated by the SLMPD, but I can speak directly to my own experiences of not having anyone to call after I had experienced harm within the community because of my fear of being further harmed and victimized by the police, and that in itself is violence. As a matter of fact, 42% of victims of violence do not call the police at all for those same reasons. I can recall several instances when I was in active addiction before I got connected to community-based organizations that provided me with love, support, resources, and a therapeutic assistance that I needed and deserved as a human being to become who I am today. I can recall being harmed by other community members that needed the love, support, resources, and therapeutic assistance and had no one to call. I can recall several times when I resided in the 22nd Ward where my friends were visibly in need of assistance and the elected officials only called the police and never once asked if they needed help, support, or rehab. The arrest and incarceration model is ineffective and racially discriminatory, never addressing the root cause or the root core of violence or addressing the needs of the community. Our community is riddled with violence because of the violence that has been inflicted upon our communities, and extracting people from the community is not going to solve the problem. Police reforms do not work, and they will not work because the origin of that establishment was rooted in greed and white supremacy with the disregard for humanity, specifically the humanity, joy, and lives of Black people. I feel that it's ineffective to appropriate millions of dollars to fund surveillance systems such as the Spot Shotters and Real-Time Crime Center and the police department. It baffles me to think that we have elected officials with so much intelligence and wisdom, which of whom are committed to health and safety, yet we spill millions of dollars on these systems to provide an illusion of public safety. How can we truly believe that finding or locating or detecting an area where a situation of violence occurred will prevent violence from occurring? Our communities need investment and alternatives to SLMPD. Our community needs access to free therapeutic services, adequate education, jobs, and affordable housing. Our community needs alternatives to the police, healing, restoration, repair, and love. And I would like for us to defund $15.2 million from waste, which is the vacant officer police overtime. Also $1.5 million from the militarization from SWAT, and $1.4 million. Thank you so much. You all have a good day.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Jerry Conley.
Good morning, Chairman Davis, members of the Ways and Means Committee, and also the all other older people who are present on this Zoom call. Particularly good morning to everybody else who's testified already and who will testify after me, for taking time out and for sharing your stories and perspectives on the budget. I kind of wonder why we're even here. By the time we vote on this budget, how many of you are still going to be in office? And I'm addressing all the Board of Aldermen. I'm addressing President Reed. I'm just dumbfounded with the events of this past week. Chairwoman Davis, your opening remarks at the beginning of this meeting were, unless we have total respect for the members of this committee, I presume, unless we have total respect from the public, we will discontinue and we will turn off your microphone. Well, sure. The regulation for this hearing is that we have to have a device on which you can see us. Yet I can't, the people watching on YouTube live stream now, they can't see if you're all present. I watch meetings by this committee earlier in the week, and all I can see on YouTube is Chairwoman Davis and the staff person from the Board of Aldermen office, and maybe one or two other members of the committee. If we have to be on camera, you all have to be on camera all the time, at the full board meetings, at these committee meetings, and you are cutting out the voices of so many people by just having that rule that you have to participate with a device where you can be seen on camera. It's a failure in democracy. I'm just grown so tired of public testimony where it's not an engagement process. I mentioned this, I've spoken on Thursday or Wednesday night as well. You're tired of hearing from me, and I'm tired of hearing coming up and saying the same thing. You know, I haven't even read the whole indictment yet. I was so livid, I haven't got halfway through. The project, the gas station project that used 2 board bills.
Mr. Conley, you're not on the budget.
I'm very much on the budget. I am very much on the budget because
no, you're not. You're
budget,
talking about a separate incident.
I'm proceeding with my comments because you said this was not going to be a debate, so I'm going to proceed with my comments.
But I need you to talk about the budget. That gas station project
went through a number of city agencies who are very well funded from this budget to conduct a planning review.
1 minute left.
To conduct a planning review, a rezoning. That project went to the LCRA board twice. It had a HUD's hearing. It went to Planning Commission. It went through 3 readings, perfection at this Board of Aldermen. And no one picked up on the fact that it was a stealth bill to give a tax abatement to a gas station. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. I think there should be a pause on all redevelopment projects. I applaud SLDC for scrutinizing and revamping the incentive process. I actually participated in one of the group discussions with SLDC staff and the consultants. And when they did a survey afterwards, 70% of the people who participated in that thought there didn't need to be a change in the system. And yet here we are with 3 members of this body having been indicted. And I don't know how many others of you are going to get indicted, but it's just, you betrayed the public trust and we have to do better.
Thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Conley.
The next speaker is Anne Louise Schmidt.
Good morning. I have my script written out, but I'm going to take a second at the beginning to tell you about my sister through adoption. She's Black, and that's significant because I do think there's racial profiling. I believe strongly, but my sister had our brother staying with her on house arrest with an ankle monitor, and something went wrong with the ankle monitor. And so day before yesterday at like evening, she's settling the kids down for bed, and there's pounding on the door, and the 10-year-old, the 5-year-old, the 7-year-old, who are like already on edge because of school shootings, hear all this beating on the door because something went wrong with the ankle monitor. And they open the door, and there's all these police with rifles like aimed at their mama and their uncle. And wow, that is not the solution. Okay, and now I'm going to read what I'm here to say, because it's about defunding the police, because that doesn't accomplish good. I want to talk from the viewpoint of court watching for Freedom Community Center. I've been doing this at least once a week for 6 months. And the court watchers track the number of people who have mental illness who come through court, because it's quite a lot, probably about a third. And I see pretrial services working so hard to get those people with mental illness connected to services like Places for People. There's expert places in our community led by people who have been there, like Mission St. Louis, like Unhoused STL, like St. Patrick's Center, like Freedom Community Center. But Places for People does such a great job. They even show up at somebody's door every day to say, take your medicine. There are no other agencies doing that in the city, and they're in capacity. We can give money to these places that are doing this firsthand, face-to-face work with people who have needs. That's not their fault that they have these needs in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to tell you about someone I recently watched in court. She was accused of a serious crime. She has bipolar and schizophrenia. Her doctor, she had not been able to get to the doctor because there wasn't enough system support. And she was pregnant. It took weeks for her to get out, because at first they said, Oh, she needs to get her medicine straight. In jail, how do you get your medicine straight in jail? The next time her family shows up and they're there to support her, but the judge is like, well, now you need a public defender because that's going to make it better for you to, once you get out, we can help you prevent keeping the community safe by having a public defender. And so then the third time she finally gets out, but she had to wait 3 weeks from the time she was arrested, pregnant, without her mental health medicine to be able to leave incarceration. And if our money went to expand other organizations, these types of crimes could be prevented in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schmidt.
I'm sorry. The next speaker is Inez Bordeaux.
Apologies, I'm at the Central Committee meeting. I want to start my comments by co-signing every single thing that every single person that has testified before me has said. I don't think I can say it better than that. So instead, I'm gonna spend my time talking about the best time, and I'm not talking just to the Ways and Means Committee, I'm talking to the entire Board of Aldermen. The best time for this board, for this body to have demanded the resignation of Lewis Reed was yesterday. The second best time for y'all to demand the resignation of Lewis Reed from this board is today, right now. I've been hearing a lot from people on this board, on this body, about innocent until proven guilty. We have to let the process play out. Everybody has the right to a fair promise, and no one should have to go to jail while they're awaiting trial for, you know, what they've been accused of. Where was this energy when Close the Workhouse was standing in front of many of the people on this committee right here? When we were testifying in front of Ways and Means Committee, when we were talking about the rats and the roaches and the black mold and our experience inside of the jails, where was this compassion? When me, Ann Louise, Hattie, Mike, Jay Shepard, when all of us were showing up in front of Ways and Means Committee, in front of the Public Safety Committee, explaining, pleading, begging you all to please see the people inside of these jails that are being held pre-trial, people who have been simply charged with the crime, not convicted of anything. When we were begging you all to take these people seriously, to humanize them, to understand that these people haven't been convicted of anything, that they have a right to clean water and good food and healthcare and be able to reach out to their families and talk to their doctors. You know what was done to us? We were dehumanized, we were belittled. I was called a liar to my face. Where was the compassion that you all are showing for Lewis Reed? Where is the compassion that you all are showing to Jeffrey Boyd and John Collins Muhammad? Where is the compassion for the people who have less access, less power, less resources, less money, less everything? Meanwhile, they're on these meetings calling people junkies and prostitutes and criminals and saying that they deserve to be locked up in a place with rats and roaches. Meanwhile, they are out here selling out us, our communities, our public schools for a spicy chicken sandwich in a 1989 hatchback Honda Civic. I want the same compassion that you're showing for your colleagues. I want it shown to every single person languishing away inside of CJC right now. Every single person that is being held in the workhouse right now. If Lewis Reed is innocent until proven guilty, then every single person inside of CJC and the workhouse deserve that same compassion. I also know that there is a resolution coming to put a hold on all TIFs and tax abatements. I expect every single member of the Board of Aldermen to enthusiastically vote for it. Otherwise, it's going to make me look at you very, very funny. You're looking very funny in the light right now. The Board of Aldermen, there is a reason I call y'all the Real Housewives of St. Louis. And this week has been a shining example of that. I need this board to get it together and get it together right now. Right now, the people of St. Louis deserve so much better than what we have gotten. So much better. We deserve better than this. We deserve better than you all. Thank you, and I yield the rest of my time if I have any.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Jeff Hines.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Chairwoman and committee members for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Jeff Hines. I live in the 13th Ward. I'm also a business representative for the Mid-America Carpenters Regional Council. It represents over 1,000 city employees that provide essential services throughout the city. Most importantly, their citizens as well. I want to make you aware of the failure to negotiate good faith by the Department of Personnel, Room 200, and the Civil Service Commission. I'm appalled and angered by the complete disregard for Administrative Reg 147, which governs the collective bargaining process. It would take me more than 3 minutes to describe and detail all the violations that have occurred in the last couple months during this process. So I'm only going to touch on a few key points to get through this quickly. May 18th, we met with the Department of Personnel, thought the progress was going well on many of the issues we have. The main one was we wanted to have the pay study that was done implemented. We were told that not only was it flawed, but it was going to be too expensive. Now, this has been a process that for 2 years, departments have been asking for increases to their staff in order to retain them or hire. This excuse has been given, and now we're being told that it's not available. What we're going to get is a 3% that is before you today across the board, which was negotiated 3 years ago. The only difference is it's an across the board 3%. There's supposed to be an additional 1.5% of merit, but that's not included in the board bill that's before you. When I objected to the process being pushed forward while we still had negotiated items still in the process, they changed the rules of Administrative Reg 114 or 147. Then we had a public hearing on last Friday, which is a holiday weekend at 4 p.m. that anybody who opposed it was not allowed to access it or even speak at. I still can't even see a copy of the hearing that did occur, which I'm being told lasted 9 minutes and nobody opposed or wanted to speak. I reported this to my membership and they are outraged. They want a better livable salary. The pay plan proposed to the BLA does not include the 1.5%. Like I mentioned, we've been told that we will continue to negotiate items, but there's no meetings been scheduled. And I know there's a tight schedule to have this done by July 1st. The increase proposed fails to keep pace with the inflation of 6% or the health insurance increase of 4.2%. So it's obvious why the city continues to struggle to hire and retain quality and dedicated employees. I'm requesting the BOA send the pay ordinance back to Civil Service Commission and demand that they negotiate in good faith with those of us in labor. I'm available to anyone on the board that wants further details because I have a long paper trail of all these details. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
The next speaker is Liz Nutt.
Hello. Thank you, Madam Chair and the committee. My name is Liz Nutt. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a second-year law student at SLU and a resident of Ward 14. I'm speaking today against Board Bill 1 because our city needs real solutions for public safety that the proposed spending cannot provide. Violent crime is a serious issue that restricts our freedoms, and residents of St. Louis deserve safety that increased policing cannot offer. This money would be better spent on addressing the root causes of violence in our city and providing crisis services that do not involve police intervention. Violent crimes happen for a number of reasons, but it is a well-established fact that poverty and lack of access to resources are the greatest determinants of violent crime. I would like to see our city spending the budget on projects that help residents have affordable, quality housing, have access to free or affordable medical care, and have access to quality, affordable food. If people were able to go about their lives knowing that their most basic needs would be met, there would be less violence in our communities. Increased policing of our communities will not prevent harm. Many people call emergency services during a crisis because they do not have any alternatives. But when the police show up, these crises can escalate, putting everyone in danger, or there may be an arrest, in which case someone who is in desperate need of help is now facing pretrial detention and an arrest record. I was at a bail hearing recently where the victim was allowed to speak to the judge, and she begged that the defendant be released. She had called the police during a fight with her partner. She told the judge that she just called the police because she needed help in that moment, and that her partner was a good person who just needed help with alcohol abuse, and that he did not belong in jail. The police showed up. Instead of offering the help that she so desperately needed in that moment, such as substance abuse treatment for the defendant or alternative temporary housing for the victim, the police arrested her partner. When I saw this bail hearing, the defendant had already been held in jail for 2 weeks. The victim was sobbing, telling the judge that she relied on the defendant and that with him incarcerated, she was going to become homeless. The judge ended up denying his bond. And this is just one example of a situation where an emergency response from the police causes significantly more harm. Police are not equipped to deal with situations like this, but they are the only option for most people. Thank you. I want our city to have alternative responses, some way to get immediate help that does not increase harm and that treats survivors of violence with dignity and respect. I ask that these funds not be spent on further policing of our communities. Please consider the personal safety of all of the residents of St. Louis and fund services that prevent violence. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Janice Banks. I'm not sure if she's on right now.
I didn't see her name. I want to thank the previous speaker. I just had a really bad thought about this domestic violence thing. But let's, do we have any other speaker after her?
I'll spell the name. I'm not sure if it's a person or if they're even on, but the name is spelled Serrogilibes. I didn't see the person on as well. So I'm chatting the person to let them know they're the next speaker, and I didn't see anyone else. So if they're not on, that is the end of the list. Madam Chairwoman.
Okay, so I will ask the question. If you believed you signed up to speak and we did not call your name, please open your mic and share that. Hearing no response, we have exhausted our list of speakers. I want to thank all of you for coming and sharing with us. It is always enlightening to hear these positions on the budget, and most especially overall, the operations of the city as a whole. It's complicated. Unfortunately, and that's what took my mind away for a second. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about everything you're saying, and about 75% of it is not in the power of the Board of Aldermen. And it's just, we just keep going around and around in these circles, but we're gonna keep trying. That's the only thing I know to say. What I'd like to do is, now, Madam Clerk, as I normally do, I'm gonna start with the committee members. And let's be mindful of our comments as we move forward. Alderman Vaccaro.
Yeah, very short, 2 comments. One, whenever I do speak, my camera's on, and that's our role. It doesn't mean we have to have our camera on the whole time, even when we're listening. And the other, we have put together a committee to start overseeing, a citizens committee to start overseeing the jail. And there's another even stronger board bill coming. You know, we're working to try to clear up some of the jail issues. I don't disagree, even slightly disagree with the conditions of the jail. When you're talking about CJC, I have always felt that that is not a great facility. People are not allowed to go outside. The closed workhouse people are actually, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, are doing more harm because that facility was actually a nicer facility with a large gym and the ability to go outside. So know that we are working on the jail stuff. There is a civilian oversight committee. There are a couple glitches which are going to be addressed by next Friday board meeting, and my camera's on whenever in a meeting, whenever I have to speak, and that's our rule. Other than that, I just wanted to address those couple things, and I will turn my camera back off, and I will be listening at this point on. I have no other questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. And I was on the camera issue. I need to go back and read that rule that was passed, I guess, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago? And we all agreed to it, but I thought that it said you had to be on camera to vote. But I need to go back and look at it. So, Alderwoman Howard.
I concur with what the alderman from the 23rd said, and I wish people would take the time to understand how the budget is crafted and the power that the Board of Aldermen has in relationship to the budget. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding out there about what powers we possess and what powers we don't possess, and what powers lay in the administration of the mayor. So I really sometimes think that we get beat up for things that we have no power over. And I would encourage people to go on the city website and really read on how the budget is crafted and the powers of the Board of Aldermen in the meantime. So I appreciate their input. I think that we have heard what's being said. I think that, we have to understand that we have a large populace in our city. Many times they aren't as vocal or willing to come on to these meetings, but they do speak to us either individually or, via email. So, I encourage everybody to come and speak in a public forum, but some people are just not as public as others. But I thank them for showing up and expressing themselves. And I encourage people to understand the workings of the city government. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderwoman Spencer. Yeah, I know she was with us earlier. Alderwoman Boyd.
Yes, Madam Chair. I just have want to thank everybody that did come on a Saturday, because there's a lot going on in our city today. And so I'm honored that they took their time to come to us. And I heard the compassion in a lot of people's voices. And I understand in regards to the mental illness piece, that is a big area that needs to be looked at. And so people in our community, and I agree with Alderwoman Howard, and I always try to pride myself on educating my community and empowering them, because a lot of times they really don't know our role. And for some reason, they think we can fix it all, and they just don't know. We just don't have the power to fix all and everything in the city. As a board, we do know we have some hiccups that we need to address, and we're ready to take that challenge on to start strengthening us as a board of aldermen. And so Ms. Hill, she's probably not here, but don't beat yourself up. Put your crown on your head, because you have 2 kids that have walked across that stage, sweetie. And those 2 kids looked at their mother to keep encouraging them. So you keep that encouragement and that fight in you, because you will take your kids to a whole nother level. So thank you so much for that compassionate comments that you made.
Right. Alderman Oldenburg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't really have too much to say other than I want to thank everyone that showed up on a Saturday morning. I would like to, if there's any those who testified still listening, let them know that we're not just ignoring concerns. I think I speak for myself and everyone on this committee and any committee that we serve on. When the public testifies, we take that in a very respectful and meaningful way. I think it's easy to cast that disparaging remarks that we just ignore and comments fall on deaf ears. I want folks to know that there's a cooperation among the members of the Board of Aldermen in when we hear comments to try to effectuate that change. And I hope that the seriousness of my tone and conversation today conveys that. So I appreciate it, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank everyone for coming out this Saturday morning, and I just agree with everything that my colleagues have stated, so thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Alderwoman Evans. I don't think she's with us. She was earlier. My comments are mirror the committee. I'm extremely pleased for the people who came out to speak today. And it is unfortunate that we are not as powerful as they think. We don't supervise any departments. We don't actually execute contracts. That's not our role. That's not what we do. We don't monitor services. That's not our role. That's not what we do. But what I'd like to share is I think the city of St. Louis could do a better job as a whole on making information available to people, because a lot of services are not being used to full capacity that could help a lot of people. And we need to find a way to make sure that happens. But also, a lot of people don't understand the consequences when you dial 911. I speak to a lot of groups about this, most especially young couples and or single moms, because I know it's difficult. You get into situations and you dial 911. And as everybody has said, depending on what you say on that call, that's how they show up. They don't know any other way. If you say he's trying to kill me and he has a gun and this and that, they come prepared to deal with the situation. So that's why I encourage people to get counseling, to work with mediation, to understand the consequences and not try to ruin somebody's life. I really, really, really want to see more of that happen because they just don't understand. And I mean, I know that from experience. So I'm very cautious about whether I call police. I'm very cautious about what I say because it can trigger certain things to automatically happen. And yes, we could have social workers, and we do have social workers. The program was implemented, about 2.5 years ago? That Ride with the Police and Answer Calls with the Police is being expanded in this budget. I've requested, along with also questioning the health department, and Dr. Mahdi is already looking at that as well in her department, that we need licensed clinical social workers. The average MSW is not trained to handle the circumstances that the police run into because it's more it's on a higher level. So as I understand it, that's in the budget as well. So hopefully that will help some people with their concerns. And as I shared before, there's at least 3 departments that they've enhanced their budgets to include these types of services. And maybe what we can do, and I'm going to ask for Paul Payne and someone from the executive branch, probably be Nancy Cross, to help us pull those things out of the budget and publicize them and make them public so people can see that, yes, we are serious and that, yes, we have allocated additional funds. I'll do one more time. Is there anything else anyone needs to discuss before we go down to the last part of our agenda?
I think Nancy Cross had her hand up.
Oh, you know what? My thing just went out on my cursor here. I don't know what's going on. Nancy, go right ahead, please.
Sorry, thank you, Sharita. Thank you, Alderwoman, Chairwoman Davis. I just wanted to say, I appreciate from the mayor's office, we heard what you're saying, and I think Alderwoman Davis did a good job of letting us all know. Sorry, I had a doctor's appointment in between. What we have added a number of services, and I do think it makes sense to get that list to you all. It doesn't address everyone's issues, but it does address many of the things that people raised about adding witness protection money, adding more social workers to deal with domestic violence issues. And then the thing is that they weren't put in the public safety budget. They're in the health department budget, many things that people are raising. So I will work with Paul to get the Alderwoman a list that's like a laundry list that helps people see quicker what it is instead of looking at the 2-inch book of the budget. So Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
No problem.
Who else had their hand up? Go ahead and open your mic, please.
I just wanted to say it would be good to get that out on the website, on the city website of what's been done to address some of the concerns so that people can see it.
I would encourage it to be publicized in every way possible in the media.
Right.
I want to hear it on the radio. I want to see it in our local newspapers. I want to see it on STL TV. I want to see it with flyers that are distributed at neighborhood meetings, all of that. And all the agencies that have services. You know, Salvation Army, Urban League, Youth and Family Services. All these people have these programs and services available, and they're not being utilized because nobody's talking about it. And they all have services. And the great thing,
the services.
Yes. So I think we can do a better job, and I'm excited about this next step here. I appreciate the cooperation from everybody because we can do, and we are doing better, and we can do even more, and we do plan to do even more. So I think that next week you all already have your agenda, and you know when we're meeting. I'm going to have, where am I at here? So it looks like everybody was present at one point. Am I right, Madam Clerk?
I don't recall seeing Alderwoman Evans.
Okay, because I got an asterisk here and I wasn't sure.
Yes,
okay, thank you.
Excuse me, hands raised. Alderwoman Davis, you have 2 hands raised.
Okay.
Ms. Cross and Alderwoman Rice.
Okay, I'm going to take Alderwoman Rice first.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you, Alderwoman Howard, for the flag on that. My hand is blending into the wall back here. I just wanted to say thanks for having another public hearing. I think these are really important spaces for our constituents to be able to come and talk to us about the budget. You know, it is true that the Board of Aldermen has less control over the budget than, you know, than it may seem like we do, but we are the most direct responses to our constituents. And so this is an incredibly valuable forum for them to come in, discuss their concerns, and for us to then suggest changes back if there are ways that we can be responsive to those. I especially am grateful for, there were several testifiers today from the Freedom Community Center and court watchers. I think that they did an excellent job laying out some of the issues that they're seeing, and even some potential funding priority shifts that may be there. And I think that especially SWAT is one that I've heard over the years that is maybe overfunded and overutilized in situations where they don't need to be deployed. And so that would be something that I would encourage. You know, I don't know if that comes through this year, but I would hope that leadership takes a look at that as well. There's a clear need for more human supports. So the affordable housing, the mental health care, affordable housing is mental health care. Healthcare can lead to stable housing. They're intertwined and inseparable. And I think, yeah, highlighting what we're doing that is allocating more money to those services this year, I think that's excellent. And I think that continuing to understand that the richness of our city is the people of our city, and the way that we support those who live here contributes to our public safety, contributes to the growth and the prosperity of our city. I thank Jeff Hans for coming on and talking about our city employees. I know this is something near and dear to all of us, knowing that we can only deliver services if we have the staff to do it, and we have to fund and to attract and retain the people that we need here to keep our city moving forward. So, you know, I've asked before, you know, maybe this is an ARPA funding, but for a hazard bonus that we can do out of the ARPA funding, and then along with these increases. But I think we absolutely need to show our city employees that we value them with our money at this point. So, and I do thank you, Alderwoman Davis, for naming that when you call 911, you have to know what it is, you know, the potential consequences of calling 911. And I think that's where these programs about deploying the right service provider to the right call are so vital. And so this new 911 center training, retraining, and how we're deploying people, whether it's social workers alongside police, social workers instead of police when they are needed, it is about the right person to the right call. And I am grateful that we are making progress towards that. I think we're moving in the right direction, and continuing to do that leaves police in the space that they need to respond in, and leaves the people safer when they don't need police to be responding. And I think that this is an important opportunity, particularly this week. I am grateful for the committee to continue to go forward with the public hearing in such a difficult week. I think that the more public and transparent we can be with such a microscope on us because of the federal indictments, I think that I'm grateful for you all for still being here today, and engaging with the public, because we owe them our accountability more so now than ever. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing how the committee is continuing to work on the budget. Thank you.
Thank you too. Alderwoman Howard, do I have any more hands up?
Nancy Cross.
Nancy, go right ahead.
I thank you, Alderwoman Howard, for noticing the hand, and Alderwoman Davis for calling. Just wanted to let people know it's our intention to advertise more about the monies that we have to spend once Board Bill 1 is passed, and what those services are for. But the city website now actually does contain information on some of the issues that were raised during the call. And I'm going to go back to the communications people, because it might be too deep in the weeds and when you look at the website, so that people aren't seeing services that they could be getting as quickly as possible, rather than having to go through a number of screens and things in that nature. And I also want to just let you all know is Board Bill 1 is part of the budget money. So the money put into Board Bill 1 is not necessarily these are programs that we're adding money to that we hope that we'll be able to keep permanently, whereas the ARPA money is only good for so many years. And finally, to Alderwoman Rice's point, there is in the Board Bill 1 budget money for a bonus for employees, and it would be effective July 1st if this budget were to pass. Unfortunately, we cannot use ARPA money for permanent long-term salaries since the money is only for a certain period of time. But we will fix, I heard you, all the people regarding finding the information on the website. We will make sure we do some of that. And Kevin Bailey usually tries to have things when he goes into the neighborhoods and the community groups to meet with. So we'll make sure that we have information for people so they can actually take advantage of the services. Thank you.
Right. And Nancy, while we're talking about this, I had an idea a few years ago, but it never got anywhere. We could create a business-sized card that's laminated that has the list of most likely required services. And we can have those passed out to all the homeless. We could have those available for anybody, anywhere. They could be in all police cars. Bus drivers could have them. Everybody could have them. Because people need to know. They just don't have, I know from when I was younger trying to make it, I didn't know half of the things that were out there to help me.
Right. Right.
So if we could, and that's inexpensive. Those are the kinds of things we can do. If all your department heads could get together and decide, how they want to be listed and all that kind of stuff, let's do it. Let's just make this work.
I will look into that and I'll get back in touch with you where we get to make sure that we're doing the list based on these calls that you all have and meetings that you've held so that we make sure that the list recognizes what people have brought to our attention rather than just a list.
Right.
So a
I
list that's
appreciate it.
actually useful to people. Okay.
And that's it.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So we've made note that we need to excuse Alderwoman Evans, and we have nothing else here on our agenda. We've had our discussion. I think it was very, very, very creative and purposeful. I'll put it that way. So, and all of that came from listening to our public. So I want to just thank everybody again. Even if you're mad about it, I still got to thank you because you came and you stirred us up and we listened, and it's going to be helpful to many people in our city. After that, I just want to say thank you to the committee, and I'll call this meeting adjourned.